I'm not the one to get on GQ. Hell, I admittedly have a subscription to the entire Condé Nast conglomerate over there. However, it's claimed that the golden age of merch is dead is worth exploring. And since I'm not in the business of proving a point, but easing the burden of understanding the fashion industry, it seems like a good place to start a meaningful dialogue, especially for you aspiring merch creators. So, is merch dead? In short, absolutely not. But there are far more data points to discuss so that those of you exploring it can rest your little heads. And that's what I plan to do. I'm Reggie Casual. Let's get it. All right, so first let's talk about the article addressing this issue. Titled The End of Merch, GQ's Samuel Hine argues that the cultural significance of graphic merchandise, or merch, is waning. Hine reflects on discovering a stash of old graphic t-shirts, souvenirs from concerts, and social media purchases, which he once wore with pride but now finds them relegated to long-term storage. This serves as a metaphor for the broader decline in the cultural and fashion relevance of said merch. And I also might add a very anecdotal way of looking at the merch is dead premise, but I digress. Hine suggests that merch, once a dynamic part of streetwear and fashion, has lost its appeal as consumers shift towards more timeless and versatile wardrobe staples. I can't imagine getting rid of any of it, but I also can't imagine wearing any of it anymore, Hine writes, encapsulating the sentiment that merch is becoming obsolete. And honestly, here is where my criticism of the premise really begins. A great deal of us out there in the space of reality grow out of the taste we had when we were younger. No matter how hard some of us try to hang on for dear life, life often gets in the way. But the way that Hine puts it, it sounds as if he's embarrassed by these merch purchases of the past. And that speaks to a larger issue, an issue that suggests that you bought this merch not for its meaning or sense of belonging to a niche group, but to cosplay as if you were a part of niche group. Now, I'm not saying you did that, but that sounds kind of like what you're talking about. Because I can guarantee you that there are some people, probably a lot of people, who would still in fact wear a crap ton of the merch they bought, either as a new kind of vintage, secondhand, worn-in piece, or because they are absolute fans. So refuting the claims made in the article aren't necessarily difficult, but it does reek of an elitism that continues to permeate throughout fashion and has infested its way into populist genres like streetwear. Cited in the article, artist Andrew Kuhl, an avid collector and longtime designer of merch, said that merch signals people who are like-minded, and it's a way to come together, he says. And yes, we can certainly agree to that in some way, but when we speak of designer merch or any merch peddled out by any famous or well-known entity, being like-minded wasn't necessarily the issue. That merch provided a social cachet for many of those that bought into it, giving them a sense of we are not the same sentiments amongst their peers. And also, many of the people who bought a ton of merch were resellers exploiting true fans, but of course, that's another story entirely, much like buying limited sneakers or a special collection or drop from a hyped brand. But this is why I believe Hine is making such a bold claim and is kind of missing the point, no disrespect. It's almost as if he's saying that it ain't merch unless it's something that the mainstream wants but can't get it. Further, he revels in a golden age of merch that made him feel a part of something niche and also exclusive. And if that's the case, then I contest that merch is simply in a different era and is far more niche and exclusive today than it ever has been. Sure, the pre-order model, as he mentions in his article, expands the scope of how many people can acquire merch, but there are so many niche crowds today that finding another person wearing merch from someone you follow on the street is actually rare. Why? Because there are literally thousands of people selling merch, and it is far more global than ever before. So the point of it being readily available is a moot point, especially since if you don't follow who I follow, you wouldn't be privy to the merch that's more accessible anyway. Now, there's a bigger issue about the fashion industry not being able to grapple with the fact that a large swath of fashion enthusiasts are drifting away from the established orders, but we'll leave that discussion for another day. But this is clearly another article skirting around that very issue. The fashion industry still doesn't recognize independent creators and those out of the framework of the fashion apparatus. Still, in 2024, it hasn't caught up. And that's good for business-minded individuals out there, because the more that the fashion industry is out of touch, the better it is for you. So I suggest now is the golden age of merch, because it's far more democratized. And make no mistake, the democratization of fashion terrifies the industry, but it's where the industry is headed, and very quickly. And they also know this. I've even spelt this out in our episode about why 2024 is probably the best year ever to start a fashion brand, so go check that video out right after this one to get an idea about why. In short, I contest that the traditional model of merch is just evolving. It's far from dead. The rise of customization, supercharged personal branding, and limited edition drops, accessible production and manufacturing are transforming merch into a far more niche, but still vital segment of fashion. Brands are now focusing on quality over quantity, making merch items that are collectible and reflective of personal identity rather than mass-produced and quickly forgotten. Moreover, the nostalgia associated with merch still cannot be underestimated. Many consumers still value these items as mementos of personal experiences and cultural movements, suggesting that while their everyday utility might be diminishing, their sentimental and collectible value remains strong, something that Hein points out to. Thus, while the era of ubiquitous generic merch might be ending, a new chapter of more meaningful, thoughtful, personalized merchandise is beginning. You have content creators large and small creating brands from merch, creating the very niche audiences and experiences that Mr. Hein says are long forgotten. But that merch doesn't fit into the criteria he's referring. It has to be elite, part of the cactus plant off-white fear of God Jesus tour Travis Scott passed for it to be viable and noteworthy. Or that's at least what it seems like. So we have to look at the actual business reality of all this. But before we do, if you want to learn more about the business of fashion, brand building, industry research, and deeper case studies into topics just like the ones presented in this episode, consider joining us right here on YouTube. You'll get access to our comprehensive fashion brand beginner course, future streams and webinars, and a growing archive of lessons we've done in the past. You'll also be privy to members-only updates, polls, and community posts, as well as BTS stuff happening in our home of Tokyo, Japan, and discounts on future merchandise. Your support goes a long way in building a better infrastructure here at The Casual, so we can give you even deeper insights and exclusive access to the info and discoveries you crave. So if you can, we'd love to have you a part of the team and in helping us building a bigger, better network. And now, let's get back to it. As we move further into the digital age, the landscape of merchandise is undergoing a significant transformation. Contrary to the claims that the era of merch is ending, we are witnessing a renaissance driven by personal branding, content creators, and niche audiences. This shift marks a departure from traditional celebrity endorsements, highlighting the growing influence of relatable, everyday individuals who command dedicated followings. In today's market, personal branding, which I have talked about at length, has become a cornerstone for success. Content creators from YouTubers to Instagram influencers are leveraging their personal brands to create merch that resonates deeply with their audience. Unlike the often impersonal and broad appeal of celebrity or concert merch, these items are crafted with a deep understanding of the creator's niche audience. This connection fosters a sense of community and loyalty, making the merchandise more than just a product. It's the very symbol of belonging Hein claims he longs for. For instance, consider the success of creators like Mr. Beast, Peter McKinnon, hell, even Marquez Brownlee, who was able to release a damn shoe. These content creators, who are entirely out of the scope of fashion, command incredible merch sales, which are driven by unique brand identity and loyal fan bases. And let's not forget the actual fashion content creators that bolstered their actual personal brands into physical brands. Those like Richie Lee, Locust and Wild Honey, Keezy, and countless others that you probably know about. These creators have given birth to new niche audiences that are more engaged and invested than the broad fan bases of traditional celebrities. These audiences are drawn to the creators who share their interests and values, fostering a deeper connection. As a result, merch from these creators, or just products in general, often carries more personal significance for their fans. Moreover, content creators have the advantage of direct engagement with their audiences. Platforms like YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram allow for real-time interaction, enabling creators to receive immediate feedback and tailor their products and their content to their fans' preferences. This level of engagement is something that traditional celebrities, who often operate at a distance from their fans, cannot easily replicate. The shift towards content creators and personal branding also reflects a broader trend in promotional strategies from big brands. According to a report by Business Insider, micro-influencers often generate higher engagement rates compared to celebrities, making them valuable partners for brands looking to tap into specific communities. This trend underscores a move away from the mass appeal of celebrity endorsements towards more targeted and authentic connections. So the assertion that the era of merch is over misses the broader shift towards personal branding, niche audiences, and direct engagement. The new merch landscape is vibrant and dynamic, driven by content creators who often offer authentic connections and tailored products. This evolution signifies not the end, but the beginning of a new chapter in the world of merchandise, where the power lies in the hands of those who can cultivate genuine relationships with their audiences. And to that end, the golden era of merch has yet to come. It's just not what GQ expected or perhaps wants it to be. Again, no disrespect, but I'm anxious to hear your take on it. Is the golden age of merch dead, or is it just the beginning? Let it all be known in the comments. And if you want a further lesson on this very topic, again, join us via YouTube memberships to gain access to our Business Casual Plus episodes. At the very least, drop a like, sub, turn on notifications if you found this content valuable or entertaining to you, but most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info in international fashion, culture, and business from Tokyo. It's your boy, and keep it casual. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu, and I will see you guys in a minute.